And we're back. This time I'm going to be running Amuro's canon route, and this will probably be a canon route only, although I might have to intercut because I believe Amuro as a character doesn't unlock unless you play Quattro's route for some reason. So we're starting, though, in the 1-Year War, which was the era of the original Mobile Suit Gundam. And we're piloting the original Mobile Suit Gundam, the Granddaddy!
Amuro launching!
Still a pretty badass granddad. Don't don't underestimate the power of the original RX-78-2. We're being escorted by a gun tank, which on the other hand is actual garbage. Oh, come on, I want to get on the ship. Come on, come on, come on. No! Okay, if I remember... Because, actually, Aug vs. Titans, or Mobile Suit Gundam Aug vs. Titans, was not actually released in North America, I believe. But Federation vs. Zeon Deluxe was, and that was actually my first exposure ever to the Gundam franchise. And I remember doing a mission very similar to this on Federation vs. Zeon Deluxe, so at least I know what I'm in for. And yes, the best way of doing this is just to get on top of the ship and start going ape with your beam saber. Now, for those of you without a tremendous amount of attention to detail, the beam sabers used by mobile suits in the original series and those from Zeta Gundam are actually different. The ones from Zeta Gundam have a sort of bulb near the emitter handle and they thin out towards the edge, whereas the beam sabers from the original series are more like traditional lightsabers, where the beam itself has the same diameter from its emission point until the very tip, where it rounds off. It's a subtle change, but trust me, I've, built models before, and the model aficionados will give you no end to, how can you not tell the difference? Ooh, pro dodge. Oh, for God's sakes, Kai, I'm trying to keep you from getting shot. Stop jumping in front of me. God, in Gundam Abridged, Commander Gundam, or whatever rank he was actually voiced by, if I'm not mistaken, Too Old for Toys, or it was R. Robin. It was, a Gunpla model reviewer on YouTube who voiced the character, and he played it with this kind of extremely stoic, to the point of being comedic about it. So Shara right now is fleeing, and unfortunately there's not much we can do about that, so yeah, he left. Defeating him is not a mission condition for unlocking an alternate timeline this time around. That mission condition will come much later, where we have to not kill Lalah. Oh, I got a new type rank for that. That mission condition will come later, where we have to not kill new type pilot Lalah soon. Which, for those of you familiar with the Gundam universe, Lalah Soon should be a very familiar name. I mean, this game does not do a fantastic job of conveying the story of Mobile Suit Gundam. It is, I would say, implicitly a game intended for Gundam fans who don't need the story told to them because they already know it. The payoff for them is the ability to take part in the battles that they, remember from the anime. And that's the thing, I haven't watched much of the new Gundam series, but I can't say I care for them, because it has become almost a pastiche of its own success. There were 3, I think, different anime series based on characters actually fighting with the model kits, and I know the Perfect Gundam 30th or whatever it was that started that trend, which was like an OVA. It was a video, not a series. I just don't get that, like, okay, these exist as models and toys because of the success of a fictitious series. How, then, are you going to create a series, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is it got too meta for its own good. Oh, come on. As Char Aznavour, known by the call sign the Red Comet, and I just ate a face full of crackler grenade. It's important to note that the original series kind of had a low production quality. Like, the mobile suit designs were not particularly fleshed out because animation costs money, and the more complex something looks, the more money it costs, and they didn't have a whole lot, because when Gundam first came out, it wasn't super popular. In fact, aside from a cult following, it was in reruns that Gundam sort of gained its real notoriety as a series. And the thing is, like, this model for the Gundam is based off of later mechanical designs that were applied to it, and it looks good. Like, there's signs of weathering at the gaps in the knees, like oil has been running, and there's scorch marks on the rear skirt armor from where the backpack has been, like, burning. Like, little details of that are something you'd see in a model kit done by, like, a high-quality builder. But it's interesting to see them applied in the game in this context. Hey, I destroyed Char. I just had to spam him a bunch because he's not supposed to die here, and it doesn't actually count. But I killed him. He did. Yeah, the modeling, I mean, it's not particularly high resolution. You're talking about PlayStation 2, but it looks good. Like, attention was paid to detail, but, and I know that this is a stereotype to say this, but the Japanese are really good at attention to detail. Like, Western audiences who are used to the comparatively sparse, in a Western comic, like, a window in a comic page usually focuses on one thing. There's not a whole lot happening. That doesn't exist with Japanese manga. Like, they will compress a tremendous amount of visual information into a single page, and Western audiences that are unfamiliar with that are immediately overwhelmed. The thing is, I wonder if that's a cultural thing, or if that's actually a pragmatic thing that happened where, like, I don't know, maybe the comic industry it had less money, and they maybe had to make stories in fewer pages, so they had to compress that information. And the fact that I don't know the answer to those questions highlights that even though some might call me a weeb, I'm definitely not. Ramba Ral piloting the Goof, or Gauf. This thing has been pronounced several different ways. Point is, he's piloting probably one of my favorite mobile suits from the One-Year War. And it might surprise all of you to know that it's not a long-range combat machine. In fact, the Goof specializes in close-range combat. The thing is, it's really good at it. And as much as I might shit on, like, Gundam Seed Destiny for being a piece of shit, because it is, some of the mobile suit designs they had, and they are blatant rip-offs of stuff that existed before. But, like, the Goof Ignited in Seed Destiny was actually pretty cool, because it had 2 heat rods, 2 quad-barreled beam guns, a beam sword, and it was theoretically compatible with the Zaku strike packs, phantom packs, whatever they were called at that point, which meant that you could also pair it with a pair of shoulder-mounted rotary beam cannons and a beam axe. And if I was using a goof, I'd probably be using the slash goof as a custom unit. People who have no idea about Mobile Suit Gundam have no fucking idea what I'm talking about. And honestly, that's fine. Perhaps one day my viewership will be diverse enough that there will be those who understand Mobile Suit Gundam and know what I'm talking about. Ooh. I mean, I think Kai stole that kill, but sure. Kai was an interesting character that started off as a whiny bitch, and eventually became probably one of the biggest badasses of the 1 Year War because he turned into a spy against the Titans, and even to some extent against the Federation. And, like, the man had balls for days. Like, what the hell happened, Kai? You used to be such a bitch. Now this? What the hell? Okay, so I'm gonna cheese this a bit. Ryu is supposed to die here, but he dies in a way that's different from the show, because in the show, he had suffered an injury. Amuro was trying to stop the Gallup's cargo section from ramming the White Base, which was grounded at the time. And the thing is, Rambaral's wife, Hamon, as seen there, was using a Magella attack in order to just blast Amuro. No, lock. There we go. No, I want to lock onto the Gallup that I'm actually riding on. No, come back here. So yes, this spin that I'm doing is actually a defensive move. It blocks attacks, but it does actually impact, as you can see, and if you can land on something like a ship and do it, this thing just eats its health away in 2 seconds. So I'm being a bit cheesy doing this, but who cares? It'll save me some time, and these videos tend to run long, so I'm sure all of you will appreciate it too. Probably. There we go. So I just cheesed that whole thing, of course.
So this is war.
Now, for the record, this is the second video, and yes, I have had copyright claims from the various owners of Gundam's music, which is fine. They own their own stuff, and, you know, to each their own. My point is that, like... Oh, the DMCA, again, it was important to protect the rights of copyright holders, but at the same time, it was a blunt instrument that created a lot of leeway to be abused by the copyright holders, and for the most part, it has been a lot. So right now, letting the music run isn't a problem, but at some day or at some point, if I lose track of it, it could become a problem. And, I did actually try turning the music off, and believe it or not, the game won't let me. Oh, yep, there's the black tri-stars. The funny part is, a squad with a similar name would end up serving on the Federation, or not the Federation, the Londo Bell ship, the Ra Kylum, under Captain Bright, a few generations from when this happened. That is the Dom, which... Okay, so the Goof was supposed to replace the Zaku, but it didn't. For the most part, the Goof only existed as limited production sort of prototypes. But the Dom would kind of replace the Zaku as Zeon's, like, frontline mobile suit. The idea behind the Dom was that those huge legs conceal massive jet engines, which allow the Dom, which is very heavily armored and has huge, like, bazooka and very heavy weapons, to move relatively quickly by skating over the ground instead of actually having to walk. So those huge jets in the legs produce a down thrust, sort of like an air hockey board, that let the Dom skim over the ground. And it allowed the Dom to be very heavy while at the same time remaining incredibly mobile. And, like, the fact that it was jet engines limited it to ground combat, but they realized in space that, well, hey, we've got this, like... We've got this big cavity for the jet engines. Why don't we just put equally huge rocket engines in there, and then it can be just as fast in space as it is on ground? And it was. And it kind of led to some Xeon space-based designs that had no legs and basically just huge thrusters or fuel tanks instead. Because ultimately, in space, you don't actually need legs, because there's no gravity. And there's nothing to walk on. Oh, how did I miss that? And we're gonna cheese again to save time. I still don't want to get shot in the back. Ow, I got stunned before that could land. And yes, in the anime, the Gundam did use a gigantic mace. Or mace or Morning Star? I suppose this would be more of a Morning Star. Because a mace as an ancient battlefield weapon was basically like, it was sort of a club, but it was usually configured in such a way that you had a narrow shaft or handle with a heavy weight at the end. And the shape of it was not as important as the fact that a lot of the weapon's weight was concentrated at the end to deliver as much impact on target as possible. So a mace wouldn't have the chain. A Morning Star, which I believe is somewhat debatable as to whether or not it was actually even a medieval weapon. A Morning Star was basically a handle with a chain. At the end of the chain would be a ball, or frequently, at least as it has been depicted, a spiked ball. And the idea was you'd sort of spin that around, kind of like the nunchucks from Asia. You'd spin that around and then, you know, whip it at somebody. The thing is, the reason I'm skeptical as to whether or not that was actually a real weapon is because it seems horrendously impractical, and in addition to that, nunchucks are also horrendously impractical, because if you've ever handled nunchucks, you'd realize it's extremely difficult not to clock yourself somewhere sensitive, flailing those stupid things around. And some might argue that, oh, well, it's a weapon for a master, because you need a high degree of skill in order to make use of it, whereas something like a stick or a club doesn't require a great deal of utility. Here's my point. Just because something is difficult to master does not actually make it, like, good or useful. I mean, in practical battlefield applications, it is the device that is capable of doing its job with a minimum amount of fuss or understanding required on the end of the user that is perhaps the best weapon. See, this song is probably going to get noticed because it's Soldiers of Sorrow, which is one of the major tracks from the original Gundam era. Get up, get up, get up. I don't like fighting underwater. Especially not up against amphibious mobile suits, which the Zagok and the Gog are all amphibious. So they don't have the reduction of speed underwater that we do. I mean, I'd hate to be, like, forced to mute the game audio altogether, but like I said, I'm not sure I can turn off the background music. If I run into a problem again, though, I probably will find some way of making it work. Yeah, the GOG is pretty awkward. Several variations of the GOG have been seen in other series, like the High GOG from 0080 War in the Pocket.
So this is war.
By far my favorite spin-off, though, of the original Mobile Suit Gundam, the 1 Year War, is probably the 8th Mobile Suit team, or if not that, Gundam Thunderbolt. Gundam Thunderbolt was actually really good. Because the funny part is the Thunderbolt version of the RX-78 is still technically the same model, but it is almost unrecognizable because of the space-based enhancements that were done to it. Because it's important to note that I'm fairly certain that the Thunderbolt in its full armor configuration is exclusively a space-use mobile suit, because that thing, it would be horribly imbalanced if it was walking on the ground. You know, that thing has Gundam Seed levels of backpack being overweight. It's completely ridiculous. And again, that's another reference that, like, people who aren't familiar with the Gundam universe aren't going to get. Like, what do you mean by Seed levels of backpack being overweight? Gundam Seed for the model kits introduced this thing where backpacks became modular, and you could equip the backpack from one suit, like, pretty much onto another. And Seed Destiny, the sequel series, doubled down on that with even more variations on even more mobile suits. And the problem was the backpacks got, like, crazy big. Like, too big. Like, what in the hell were they thinking big? Now, Char was not particularly happy with using a Zagok because the amphibious mobile suits do tend to be heavy and slow and clumsy. But right now we are underground in the Jaburo base, and the only way Zeon was able to get in here was using an amphibious infiltration, so if he didn't have an amphibious mobile suit, he couldn't have been part of this attack. So naturally, he tuned his own Zagok for the purposes of specifically this mission. Baraskaniv in his Zok, which is an artillery-level amphibious mobile suit. It's a big boy, but it's slow and relatively immobile. It's a good thing I have Recover equipped, because Kai's looking a bit like he might die, and his death would be a loss condition. I'm still in good condition, but that's because I'm piloting the Gundam. So yes, if you watch the previous if you watch the previous video in the series, you'll know that I mentioned that I really like the design of the Gundam Mark II. Well, the Gundam Mark II was the direct successor to the mobile suit that I'm controlling right now, the original Gundam. Yeah, the Akagai is a fan-favorite mobile suit. It doesn't have any special abilities that would, like, denote that level of fandom, but a lot of people find the Akagai to be actually cute, like, as a mobile suit, which is why there's the bear guy now, which is an Akagai designed to look a bit like a teddy bear. It fits the bill. I really like, though, the Akagai variations they had on Gundam Thunderbolt Bandit Flower. Like, that was actually really cool. There was like a heavy armament version and a recon version, and there was a bunch of stuff. So I could cheese with the Hyper Hammer here, but I would end up taking a lot of damage if I attempted to do that, so instead, we're just going to equip the Bazooka, because we're dealing with the Big Zom, which, at least in this game, has an anti-beam defense, kind of like the Psycho Gundam, so if I equip the beam rifle, it's not going to do anything, or at least not much. But the Gundam comes packaged with a Bazooka option. So we are accompanied by the G Fighter, which a lot of stuff in the original Gundam canon I feel has been kind of canonically like retconned out. Because the Gundam used to dock with the G Fighter to form the G Armor, and you also had the G Bull and the G Sky, and the fact that the Gundam has like 2 variations of beam axe that it can use with its beam sabers. A lot of this stuff you just don't see or hear about in the lore anymore. Because, admittedly, it was kind of absurd when it was introduced, and it kind of flew in the face of the quote, realism, end quote, that Gundam is best known for. So they've been kind of like... They haven't overtly said that it no longer counts. Ooh, and there goes Sliger. He flew right into the Hyper Beam. Well, he's dead. He's supposed to die in this mission, and once again, it does not affect Amuro's route. Only Lalah's death affects Amuro's route. And my head Vulcans still technically work. It would help if I was facing the thing. Ah yes, the Gelgoog, basically Zeon's equivalent of the Gundam, and I know a lot of Fetty boys would argue that the Gundam is better than the Zeon. No, not the Zeon, the Gelgoog. A lot of Fetty boys would argue that the Gundam is better than the Gelgoog. Their performance is roughly the same. The reason why the Gundam, like, destroys a lot of Gelgoog is because Amuro was coming into his new type abilities, which gave him an advantage, and Zeon pilots, like experienced pilots, were becoming very hard to come by because a lot of them had died already in the war. So the Gelgoog ended up in the hands of a lot of like guys with 2 weeks of mobile suit training that had no idea what they were doing. And I got a new type rank for that. Okay, cool. Here is where we cannot let Lalah die. And that's going to be difficult because she's super easy to kill. We have to focus on Char. The problem is she's not going to repay us the courtesy of ignoring us, so she's going to be shooting at us the whole time. And this match only ends when the enemy's reinforcements have dropped sufficiently. And while we're fighting, Char in his Gelgoog and Lalah in the Elmeth, there's not going to be a whole lot of enemies spawning, so until we get Char low enough that he fucks off, we're not going to have the opportunity to fight other Zeon forces to get the reinforcement meter down. There's Lalah. And instead of funnels, we have bits, which are just as bad, only they're an older technology. Yeah, Char's gonna focus us too, which just makes this worse. Yeah, whatever you do, if you get like a third target, like a generic mobile suit, do not let it slip away. Definitely take it out so that you can get that reinforcement count down faster. Because this fight very quickly just becomes a damn slog. Oh, come on, Sail. I could have made that shot. Oh, great. We got a friendly mobile suit. Oh. Oh. Oh, that almost ended badly. Alright, we got Char's shield. Ooh, no you don't. No you don't. That went nowhere. Alright, good. The shield sponged that. Okay, so Char has fucked off. That ow! Now we just have to survive long enough to eliminate enough supporting enemy units that Lalah survives. Ooh! Ooh! God, okay, so for those of you who don't know what funnels or bits are, the creator of this series had the foresight to realize that military technology and weapon systems are getting decentralized, like less focused on single units, and more miniaturized, like... And he was entirely right, because these days we use non-line-of-sight targeting with, like, radio communications and advanced guidance systems. To some extent, he predicted the future, and he made the point that, yes, but we're doing a series that tries to realistically depict giant robots as being a thing. If military technology is becoming increasingly miniaturized and increasingly, you know, whatever, we have to have something that explains that, something that justifies that. So he created the Minovsky particle, and the function of the Minovsky particle is that it basically jams the lower electromagnetic spectrum. And the issue with that is that there goes radio communication. It's gone. There goes radar guidance. It's gone. And infrared guidance as well, because those are all lower EM spectrum. So now all of a sudden you're fighting broadside like back in the, like, what, 17th century or whatever? So the idea is that non-line of sight, indirect fire, guided whatever, none of that works anymore. But they discovered, and it's important to note that, like, new types are a kind of flagrant Japanese ripoff of Jedi. Like, Star Wars was really popular, and they decided that, like, oh, well, we have new types, and they're sensitive to feelings of each other, and disturbances in space and time, and yada yada yada. They're basically Jedi that pilot giant robots. I mean, you have beam sabers, and I know that not every energy sword, you know, big air quotes on that one, I know that not every energy sword was necessarily encouraged by lightsabers, but Star Wars kind of codified that particular type of weapon. And oh look, these giant robots use energy swords, or beam sabers rather, in the case of Mobile Suit Gundam. And it is functionally a giant robot scaled version of a lightsaber.
I can see the enemy.
Now Char is piloting the Zeong, which doesn't have bits or funnels, but its hands can detach from the body and attack remotely. So in the technology of the Gundam lore and universe, these psychics, if you will, they discovered a way of technologically detecting and interpreting their thought signals, and those thought signals could pass through the interference caused by Minovsky particles that generally prevented conventional radio-operated weapons from working. And the result is that these new types could operate these remote weapons that could attack separately and distinctly over a significant distances. Now, they quickly discovered that trying to amplify a new type's thought waves over massive distances was prohibitively difficult on both the technology and the ability of the new type to kind of broadcast that type of intense, focused thought pattern. So instead of being used to resurrect warfare beyond line of sight, new type weapons instead enabled a new type to basically remote control multiple weapon systems in the same theater using only the power of their thoughts. And there goes the Zeong. You may have noticed the Zeong doesn't have legs. And it was supposed to in the lore, but they were under attack. This was like the final battle of the One-Year War, and they basically threw it together without legs because they were like, hey, we're in space. It doesn't need legs because we're in space. Yeah, there's Amuro placed under house arrest. So we have a problem that Amuro's route with the Aug hasn't popped up. Now I'm going to see if I activate Quattro or Emma if he will show up. He did not. Okay, well then I'm going to have to cut in here the cannon route once I have unlocked it. Okay, so for all of you, the transition will have been relatively instantaneous, but I had to run Char's route, or Quattro's route here, in order to unlock Amuro's Aug route. Amuro Ray has been placed under house arrest by the Federation. He and Katz escaped together. So that will now connect to his cannon route back here. Amuro placed under house arrest. And his cannon route is extremely short. We're going to be running the Lalah Alive alternate route separately. Well, actually, no. We'll probably run the Lalah Alive route because there is a lot in the sort of like idealized timelines. But for now, let's finish his cannon route. So this is Hickory, and we will be fighting against Buran. The beam pistol, because we have to look after Camille, and he's not in the Zeta, we'll go with Recover. The Bound Dock. It looks like half of an eggshell is what that thing looks like. It looks weird. Now this is interesting. With this particular configuration of mobile suit, in this game at least, the beam rifle in my hand does not recharge like they normally do. But the beam rifle on my back does recharge. So when I reload, what I'm basically doing is swapping the one on my back for the one in my hand to let the one on my back recharge. Oh, I actually dodged that with an attack. Ow!
Camille, pay attention. Watch out behind you.
Yes, even though I don't have the bazooka equipped, I can still fire both the beam rifles if they are on my back. Ow. That was a good hit. Baran's getting low. And cool guy shot. Nope. Ow!
I'm coming back.
So we run the Rick Diaz during the Hong Kong battle. Again, we're up against the Psycho Gundam, so avoid beam weapons if at all possible.
All right, I'm heading out.
I am not equipping Assault, I'm equipping Recover, because I'm in what technically qualifies as a mass production everyman mobile suit, and in this series that means that you're basically in cannon fodder. Amuro will get a custom mobile. I just friendly fired myself. Fantastic. And that was a miss. I can't do anything from this side of the stupid thing because of that shield. It's immune to damage. Stop turning the shield towards me, for the love of God! I mean, if you're playing the Psycho Gundam and you're running it in the humanoid mode, strafing your enemy and keeping them on your left is a good way of, like, blocking attacks because the shield blocks all damage. Ooh. Ooh! Come on, come on. Most mobile suits actually have the cockpit either in the abdomen or in the chest. The Rick Diaz is interesting that its cockpit is actually in its head, which is kind of a part of the body, like it's very dome-like and doesn't have a lot of freedom of movement. The Psycho Gundam also has the cockpit in the head, but then again, it is so gigantic that you can very easily fit the cockpit in the head. I mean, in terms of how big the Psycho Gundam is, we are about the size of deluxe action figures compared to its significant size. Oh. So, if you've noticed, because, you know, I fought against DOMs during the 1 Year War in this particular session, the Rick Diaz has a very similar, very chunky structure. That is because the Rick Diaz is the direct design successor to the DOM from the 1 Year War. It's got a lot more junk in the trunk, but it is basically very similar. Like a large skirt with a bunch of rocket boosters in it, huge calves, again with big rocket boosters.
I'm coming back.
It's very chunky, but it's very quick because it's got a bunch of thrusters poking out in every conceivable direction possible. And we have the DJ. Now this is normal difficulty, so saving 4 is of complete inconsequence here. So yes, Amuro now has a personal mobile suit. And like I said, this thing looks more like it should be a super robot mobile suit than something in anything attempting to be realistic. Like, the huge fork on its left shoulder is supposed to be... It was originally supposed to use the Hyper Mega Launcher that, like, the Zeta Gundam has, and that was going to be where it stored the launcher, and that's the same reason why it has the fins for cooling. Ow. The thing is with the DJ is that it is very much a spin off of the Gelgoog design, which helps to highlight the point I made before, that the Gelgoog is basically Zeon's equivalent to the Gundam. So, with the DJ basically being like a Gelgoog descendant design, Amuro was basically piloting a relative of the Gundam, at least in terms of performance. I mean, even like the actual Gelgoog in this game, you have a ability which allows you to block attacks with your sword, which is... It didn't work there. And I just blocked an attack. what the hell? Oh, and that would have been me dead without recover. We gotta focus less on Jared and get these Hyzacs out of play. Oh, for God's sakes, take it out! God, we probably got, by my calculation, about 3 more Hyzacs to go. And I'm out of beam charge. Fantastic. How did that miss? Oh, for God's sakes! I might actually lose this. Oh, that was too close. Okay, if I just take out this one. What?! It interrupted my attack! If 2 melee attacks occur at the same time, the game is supposed to resolve it as a clash. They mutually deflect. And it interrupted my attack. That... Honestly, I'm gonna say that's a bug, because that's not supposed to happen. Oh, second loss in the same session. Now I'm a bit salty.
Amuro launching.
Beneficially, when I tackle the alternate universe route as Amuro, I don't have to deal with the DJ. I can run the original Gundam, because that's what you're supposed to be running. Oh my god, like, there's no lead or tracking on the shots at all. You know what, I don't have to spare 4, let's just kill her. Not like it's difficult, so let's just do it. We were so close to getting it done right last time, too, because one more hit, but he interrupted my god-damned attack. That was bullshit. Yes, the higher the quality of the mobile suit, like, because there's, like, almost no lead calculation in this game, all projectiles kind of gently home in on their targets. The more advanced the mobile suit you're running, the stronger that homing effect becomes. So the Deja here is considered a very low-tier mobile suit, and so its projectiles basically just travel exactly where they're fired. So if your enemy is even so much as walking, like, perpendicular to where you're aiming, you're not going to hit them. It's why so many of my shots just connect with nothing. Yeah, I wanted to spare 4, but not after that bullshit that just happened. 4 can die and be dead. This is the canon route, after all. She is supposed to be dead. It also feels like the DJ's melee has a very short reach, which doesn't make any goddamn sense. And it feels slow and sort of lumbering. But like I said, it's a low-quality mobile suit. It's not great. It's basically just a souped-up Gelgoog, and those are already out of date for this era. Be like using, maybe not a propeller plane in a jet battle, but probably using one of those early jet craft in a modern jet battle, like one of the jet craft we used in Vietnam or Korea even earlier. In a modern jet battle, that would be a slaughter. Oh, don't tell me I'm gonna die again. No. Okay, I got recover. And needed it. Holy shit. What? I killed 4. Why is this proving to be such a pain in my ass? God, I guess the DJ was in need of an upgrade. It's a good thing there's one more mission and I'm done with it. I mean, I like the design. I like that it walks instead of just boosting everywhere, but everything else about it is just shit. Yeah, we're gonna go recover. We clearly need it, because this mobile suit is not fantastic. Like I said, after the cannon route, I can turn my back on it, never have to see it or deal with it again.
You see enemy mobile suits? Try to hold them off until after Char's address. I never wanted to fight. I'm trying to give them more time for the speech. I'd like to start by asking the forgiveness of the assembly members. It's gonna destroy the concept.
Okay, so they list this as very hard. It's strengthened the enemy mobile suits, but for the most part, this fight's easy because it doesn't culminate in a boss battle. Again, it's a timed thing. We just have to survive until the timer runs out. Because this is the mission where we're covering Char during his speech. Yeah, the Ashamar doesn't actually have a dedicated melee weapon. It literally has to fist fight and kickbox in order to melee, which is kind of cool, actually, but impractical. God, even the Dija's proportions are kind of ridiculous. Gigantic skirt armor, huge beer gut cockpit, those fins, and then those giant calves. It's like, what the hell? Ow. Okay, okay. Yeah, after I do the Lalah Lives route, that'll be it for me for this evening. My throat is dry and worn. My patience is worn as well. And I feel I constantly have to reiterate, it's not like I'm not enjoying myself, it's just that there's a limit to how much before you start getting a bit weary of it. Critically, there have been a few fights recently that have soured my grapes. So the rifle is borrowed right off the Hyakushiki, so is the missile launcher, should you deem to equip it. Yes, the Gelgoog has a very similar, like, beam saber spin that deflects incoming projectiles. In the case of the DJ, it actually, if an enemy melees you while you're using that, it will counter immediately. Which makes it all the more ridiculous when I was fighting in Kilimanjaro last mission and I got murked. What the hell? Thanks to Amuro's help, Quattro's speech has freed the Earth from the Titan's influence. Once more, Amuro sends Quattro and Camille into space, but soon he too will return to space, this time to confront Char. However, weren't there other choices? It is still possible to alter the outcome of these events. The future is in your hands. Earth-based Titans have been wiped out. Yes, because Amuro joined up with Karaba, which is the Earth-based counterpart of the Anti-Earth Union group. It would be a bit goofy if there was a terrestrial Earth-based organization called the Anti-Earth Union group. That just sounds stupid. So this is the Lalah Lives route. And I believe it's literally just this one mission. I'm gonna put some upgrade into the Gundam. Eesh, that's pricey. But we're gonna be maining it for... It's worth it because we're gonna be maining it for Amuro's route in the ideal timeline. So it's worth it to get it here. And we need Recover because we have to protect Zeta. Because when we last ran this, Zeta was not a part of the mission.
So this is war. Gundam, please hang on!
So yes, she is piloting the G-Bull, which is the upper torso of the Gundam, and the front half of the G-Fighter, mixed together to make a kind of tank. Like I said, some of the original Gundam design stuff was a bit goofy. The G-Sky is the Gundam's legs and the back half of the G-Fighter, which has the boosters and the wings, combined with the Gundam's core fighter cockpit as a piloting thing, and the G-Armor is basically the whole of the Gundam shoved up inside the G-Fighter. If this sounds kind of goofy and stupid, it's only because it fucking was. Like, I don't even think they make models that allow for, like, the Gundam to dock into the G-Armor anymore, because it's almost like Bandai is trying to make everybody forget that that even existed. So yeah, since Lalah's alive, she is now in this fight. Which means that I have Char's detachable beam-firing hands to deal with, and Lalah's bits. It's a good thing I'm good at this game. My recent string of losses notwithstanding, normally I would have run a bunch of, like, lower-tier character routes, basically grinding up points so that I could upgrade the high-tier mobile suits. Because you will earn far more than you spend upgrading the low-tier pilot machines. But because I'm literally going straight for the hero machines, I'm literally making this harder on myself. Yeah, you can see the Gundam's hands shooting out of the G-Bull down there with the shields on each arm. It is really dumb looking. So now we have created a special timeline. Lalah has lived to see the end of the One-Year War. Thanks to her continued rapport, with Amuro, he retains his hope for the future and his faith in humanity's potential. Amuro actively cooperates with Char. Together, they establish the Aeug. Old grudges and regrets must be set aside. The Aeug must take control of the Earth sphere. From the ashes of the Universal Century, a new hero must emerge. Do you have enough courage to seize this new future? So yes, we have now created the special timeline, the, like, best ending timeline of Camille route, Amuro joins the Aeug, and it will apply to Quattro as well, and Amuro. The basic characters like Emma, Roberto, Opoli, they don't get this route. But now we have a special route, and the thing is, this will branch again. Because there is a timeline where you don't prevent Operation Apollo, and then you can get a 4 lives route on this alternate timeline. But then there's one where you prevent Operation Apollo. The whole 4 lives thing I don't think qualifies then. And you can get the best ending that route, but that is most definitely for another time.